So personally, the way I think is if you're lost in life, which I was, it just depends on how I like to kind of overview my own life just as an example, because it's easier than getting on someone else's life and viewing into their life. It's easier to look at my own life. So what I did personally is look up my lucky numbers in astrology. I typed in my birth date in astrology, and then my lucky numbers, my lucky gems, and a few of the things talking about my karma. Now, this is different because let's not talk about that right now, but so that's what I did. And it kind of goes like that because people just view into that like how would that help? How would that help? When it does, it just, so like for me, like 15 and 21 and 24 are some of my lucky numbers. Emerald is good for me, just far too hard to get your hands on. It's funny because when you look at like the job life, there's something there that's like sort of works, but doesn't really work. So it doesn't, so like rituals can be good, I think. It's just, you got to get precise. And even still, there's something about it. Like it's kind of like banned or something. It's really weird, but like, it's not banned as in like it's illegal. It's just more like, it's frowned upon or something like that to find out these things. So then astrology said a few things online about like my Taurus energy. I tend to be stubborn over my own artwork. I tend to be not the same as people around me. People are just real workaholics in like some type of way compared to what I have going on, when I'm a workaholic towards like easy work and more just like hang on. So there's an aspect of negativity there, or something that like another type of Taurus or someone who's also realized themselves could like potentially tell me about. So that's always something to do, to be conscious. If you're completely lost to the point where it's like you even kind of do a little bit of the Bible, or you attend church on Sundays, but there's something just confusing there. That's why honestly I turn towards the basic key laws of like my birth date and my birth sign, my birth month, my birthday, and what astrology has to say about it. So that's a quick tip. Other than that, the title of the video, the 40K Club, 40 and under. Because like when I was working back, let's see, the last time I had this going was like 2022 or 2023 is when I worked a full year at a job. And I mean, it's kind of like, it's cash, but I have to have like a grounded, like something else with the government and different things that's like helping me out. Cause it's like, even when you work hard, cause there's an aspect of like being there and being like 20, 25, 26 at the last time I had a job for over a year. And it's like between me and other like 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, it's like, no, Michael's just going to be the one to like be ragging up the tables, throwing trash away, getting stuff done, doing certain things. The other kids kind of just have like dominate like the right in just the microphone, and then you just make a few drinks, and that's like the easiest position. So like I made that clear, and that was just how I managed the job. Is I was like, I want to do the functions that are like the hardest to do because it's an easy job in the first place. It's like I want to be the one taking out the trash. I want to be the one. I want to be the one, like, moving boxes full of like fries and different things, and then recycling the boxes, and then taking all the recycling boxes out and those kind of things. But like, what did I make? Probably like a grand total that year of like 15 or 16K, you know, potentially. Like the years that I was working over 25 to 30 to 35 hours a week, that was, it was just like, yeah, a whopping 17 or something like that, like 17, 15, you know. And so then it turns into media, like how people view that. And these like situations sometimes that can be like dulling to the mind. Hang on. Like people just looking into your life. It could be like a female, for example, and being like, what's up with that? Like we see like rock stars and like movie stars who just have like, where like the media in general tells you like, oh no, there's people that make like millions and stuff. There's people that make like millions, like that's a joke. And you look at like certain hip hop stars and then movie stars and things, and it's like, it is like a joke as far as how much they make doing what they do, you know? And so then you have like people who just like, you know, what I think it is like, as far as like people just getting on your case and viewing into that, there's something about it. Like a lot of times girls have like money, but you question, it is this filthy truth a lot of times. It's like, I have not morally found that spot to like find some easy work thing where I was able to navigate money. Cause I feel naturally like I need to work harder. So I have not quite done that. I don't really want to, I don't really care to. Like, there's something about how people just keep their mouth shut about that, and people do not talk about that and like exercise the truth about it. Instead, it turns to this mind control thing where like, a lot of times you look at like hip hop stars or movie stars who make like, movie stars might not talk about it as much, but hip hop stars definitely will flex a lot of times how much money they make. And what you're looking at is like a gang, like a squad of like the top artists who are making like the most possible money. You know, some of them who are really popular are making like the most possible money. And sometimes they have a record deal. Sometimes a lot of times you see guys who do it on their own make less money. They never have any deals. They make less money. And that's something interesting that would be like forgotten about, that people don't want to view into, you know? And then, so it's just kind of like this thing like, oh, why, you know, and then even deeper, like because of how I was, like because of how initially people are competitive about the job space. So there's not really, there's like this economic time there where I noticed like, oh, at first I was able to get like this job and work. And then now it's like, oh, like we're not hiring. And it's like, And of course, the more exclusive the place is, the more like popular, like people want to work there, is a direct correlation with being way less likely to get hired for me. And half of it is like, honestly, it's like calling out people who don't do much, and how freaky that gets. How like, you'll find a coincidence where like things get so depressing and so weird with how we're talking and dealing with things that you have to leave because they don't want, like they assume, I don't know, but the youngsters who are like 18, 19, 20 working at the same type of job are in such a different space because of their age that like they basically can maintain getting me out of there if they don't like that. But one thing is I have work ethic to where like it's unseen. It's not the same. A lot of times when I didn't have work ethic, it's because I was going through these trials and tribulations, like in the workspace, you know. But like, it obviously depends on the person. I've seen some great, like I have honestly seen the occasional standout who's like 20 years old and is working, who works their ass off. I've seen that. I have seen that, to be honest. But there's an aspect of that. So I just have to leave certain places because they start getting sneak dissy and weird and like other stuff. So like, then just the way like people will just view into that and be like, oh, so you don't have these bills. and then they just match you on the negativity. When in reality, I'm just talking about one little thing. Like there was all these great things, but just, the money though, but the money. And then, even if the people don't make much money themselves who want money from you, which could even be like not a problem that they want some money from you. But then there's this random programming with like hip hop and stuff where they just look at you like, like you make what? And like you don't have, or like, they're not hiring, like we care. Excuses, like we care. When it's like the entire time I have the energy body to be able to do these functions at a job, they just tell me up front, we're not hiring. And you have to find like fringe places that are more like really, really cool. So I'm actually wrong when I call them fringe. We have to find like certain spots that are like really, really chill about stuff. And then that becomes the best job space. But it gets tricky because like if I go to some space where I'm obviously making tons of money for what it is, and you have like college kids working there and stuff, like that's when it's like, they're not hiring. You're obviously going to make 18 an hour, or like, let's see, if it's a restaurant, maybe like 14, but there's like hella tips, and it's like obviously this great spot, and there's all these like 21-year-olds working there, or like 20-year-olds, 21, 22, and I'm, it's like, hey, well, I'm 27, I'm 28. No, we don't want that. And like, so it's like, obviously you're going to make tons of money and get hooked up, tons of like pretty girls who work there. Then obviously it's like this huge competitive job market space. And like, no, you're not, no, we won't hire. So I've had to go to like other places that are more chill, more easy. Like, recently I'm looking at more like Goodwill, some of these thrift shops, I'm trying with those, And so then because potentially it's more chill. It's more like you can just work here and not have to worry about like this scene. There's like a scene. It's like if you go to like a certain bar or something, it's like a scene. It's like such a cool spot to some people that like it becomes obviously very competitive to get hired there. So in the face of like the real dynamics of how I'm dealing with this stuff, like not even being there in the first place because I'm not allowed to, and then having people just stare at your life like, excuses, we can't get hired. Let's focus on the negative of how but these mistakes, Michael, and like, but you need to have money. And then even deeper, the mind controlled program of like people are like looking to hip hop. Then like we see a total of like 15 artists that we can kind of follow that we've looked at the past year, like 15 or so, who are all making millions. Come on, man. Like you're working on and off in between. You're leaving because you say people sneak diss you. Like what? And just like normalcy like that, where it's just like, and then there's like no excuses, Michael. In other words, like, and then they pull the L card. Like, and it's like, there's no time. Like I'm 28, and even still, then that would offend them because it's potentially saying that the future might change, that I might make more money in the future, would truly annoy them, piss them off. That's academia floating around. That's like academic thoughts, pretty much. I would assume so. That's this academic justice where it's like, Michael, great. Like and they're just being negative with you, Like, isn't that not, and it is true. If you go against the initial, like there's a few key things that are not taught in school. And this is like certain philosophical / business ethics and morals, and like right down to like true business was more on like philosophical, like an easy side of things where we learn in this upgrading kind of way. Then they don't teach charisma. They don't teach anything about like talking to the person next to you in the chair next to you, how to open up, how to flirt, how to talk, so then you have like these brutal situations where some people know how to do this, but then there's like the 50% or so, or 60% who don't have any type of will around doing that. And even still, people like me who just couldn't even, I just couldn't even, because I was like, why try? This is all, like, I didn't agree with school that much. Then, different systems of yoga and things, and basic understandings of how you can massively hack health as wealth. And I would assume for females, this would go way, way, way further than it would for a man. But if you do like yoga to the point where you implement it in for like, let's say 30 minutes a day, like a 30-minute session, you do that like every other day or so, or something chill, then you'll massively get like way more athletic. It's like your neck, your posture, your stuff will get like way more open up. Just in the morning, like just this one, this is what I have to do. This is just like a 5-second yoga. It's just like when I wake up, I'm like, everything's uptight, so I go like this. You can just kind of like, I reach for the floor. And I have to do this. I have to, because I'm way too uptight after sleeping. I don't know why. It's like, and then there's other stuff like, let's see here, philosophy, not taught. So I'm like into all those things. I'm into all those things that are like precisely what school didn't teach us. I started getting into those things, and like, it's like this God forbid market. It's like this market of like, if you start like having success with like focusing on these easy dynamics, like you have no idea how hard it is. I mean, meanwhile, you have this certain skill set where there's like 40% of people who are prone towards succeeding super hard to where they even just want to finish school. You know, fascinating, or like, let's see, very prone towards like being great with computers, very savvy with that stuff. Well, some people have it like we're so regular that we just can't even, like, I don't just zip to the top of like the class. I can't complete one class. I mean, like a 45 to 50 minute session of like a class, I mean, or a 2 hour or whatever in college or whatever. I can't even do one class on my honor. The computer stuff is already, the mathematics, the algebra, whatever is already above my head. It's like, I have to get realistic here, you know? And just, there's always like people like match you on this negativity, like, oh. And what that is, like academics, they're just frowning upon what you're doing because you figured out something that they saw was inconsistent as well. And so they give you like this size you up as like, oh, let's focus on the negatives. Let's focus. And then these people like still have the energy to like do like all this stuff. But then they just, if it's ever me or their mind comes in contact with me personally, or we're like looking at each other, or we're dealing with each other like closely within social, then like, oh, Michael, we see that we see what you, and they just talk to you like, it's like really hard to explain. It's like, there's nothing practical on my side of things, so it's like forbidden. And then if people want to say, okay, you know, why don't, you know, let's get you out here with money. Let's get you up in front of like 100 to 200 people and just talk about what you know about. We dare you. It's like, yeah, I could do that. I would. See?